So flashing back to the Iowa game, obviously thin at linebacker, how do you feel like some of the young guys in that group performed?
Well, I think they, Kale had 3 days of practice in there, so I thought they did great. Was really, really happy, I think, with, for the most part, of, attitude and effort. There's a lot of stuff to clean up, and that was going to be the case. But really thought they handled themselves well. They've done a great job. We've been able to kind of manipulate it enough here over the off week to get everybody the reps and try to catch them up to speed as best we can.
What are some challenges of being a young player in the linebacker room, and what lessons do they?
Yeah, a lot. They learn a lot of lessons. It's of all the places you probably don't want to have to go in and play as linebacker if you're new. A lot of things going on. You're responsible for getting the front set, the secondary coverage, all the different things. So they have everything on their plate. We've tried to do a good job of taking some of that stuff off their plate. We tried to manage the last game as best we could. Tried to make it as simple for them as we could, and simplify the game plan down to the bare minimums. And but I thought they handled it well.
Brazina had the green dot on the back of his head with the signals and stuff. How did that go?
Good. He couldn't hear sometimes. It was loud, but he did great. Yeah, our linebacker coach talks to all the guys with green dots. Coach Cratch, he does all that. I don't talk to those guys. I get the signals and try to get the right personnel on the field and do all those kind of things. So that goes through Coach Cratch, and he's done a great job with those guys. And again, try to just give them. I think you can overkill the green dot thing. I think it's just important to get them down a distance and situational awareness, especially the young guys. But just try to keep it as simple as we can, and yet complicated for the other guys. So we're still a work in progress in that.
Jon, what's impressed you the most about the play of your secondary in the first 2 weeks?
Well, I think your best players, and that would be the guys that have the most experience. The guys that have played a lot have to play their best football, and I think that's been a plus. I think those guys back there have played good football, but they have to, and they should, and they understand that. Your best players have to play their best football, and that's just to give yourself a chance. And I think those guys have done that. They've practiced well. We've been able to get some other guys in the games as well and give them some reps and some different things. So that group's working together well as a whole, and we'll try to continue to do that.
And what does Arkansas State present offensively? Obviously, mobile quarterback or quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, the tempo, that they're really kind of what the start of this conference was when we first got here, was 100 miles an hour, and see how many plays they can run. And I think they're in the tops in the country, most plays and time per snap and all those kind of things. So it goes really fast. But I think first and foremost, I think they're really well coached. I think you don't see them making mistakes. You see a good football team. Like, that's what I see on videotape. You don't see sloppy stuff. You don't see the ball all over the place. You see them, I think they're just well coached. And then they know exactly what they're doing with that scheme, and they've been doing it a while, and they're really good at it. So that's the second thing. And then third, I think they're skilled people. They're as skilled as guys that we play every week. So it'll be a great challenge for us. The game will get out in space. They run the football downhill. The running backs are talented and fast, and then the skilled people out in space are an issue, and then you have to control the quarterback somehow. And, that's a real challenge as well.
Your guys' next win will tie Matt with Dan McCarney for the most at Iowa State.
That's cool.
What's your perspective on that as a guy who's been a part of every one of those wins and has been a head coach?
Hey, I didn't know that, I guess. So that's really cool. I think he certainly earned the right to do that. I have a lot of respect for Coach Mack and what was done here before. So, and I think Matt does too. I think that's the cool thing. So I think you talk about Coach McCarney, you're getting up there, you're talking about, maybe getting him some more wins than he did, and I think that's pretty impressive in itself. But it's been a lot of fun. Coach is a great leader. I said it early on when we first got here, he's a great visionary. Nothing ever really stresses him out. There's nothing that he doesn't think he can figure out, and that calms everybody in this building. So I think he's done a great job, and we need to work really hard to do those things to help him out.
Jon, going back to the Iowa game, you had 2 instances of, I believe it was 1st and goal, came out of it with 3 points instead of 7 both times. What did you learn about your defense and maybe those 2 specific sequences?
Yeah. Well, our guy, I don't know that I learned it. I believe it. Our guys have a lot of heart, a lot of grit, and that's when you find out what you're made of down in there. It's also an advantage, I think, at times for defenses. I think sometimes everybody, the field shortens. I feel like defenses, I've always believed that defenses should play their best football in the red zone because the field's not as big. And so, it's kind of always been an emphasis here for us. And with what we do, we're not very complicated down there. We've spent a lot of time on an off season. We were not very good a year ago. And so we spent a lot of time in this off season going back to the fundamentals of how we put this whole thing in. And our guys made some plays, the bottom line. And, lines on paper, guys got to make some plays. And, Dom made one on the run, and then our guys tipped some balls and used the back end line as to our advantage.
Anything else for Coach? Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate